Hey everybody, welcome back. We are here with talking about our boys of Santos Bravos. We're not doing a reaction because we're just gonna basically talk about the last episode and the final 10 members that are left, and then I'll talk about my picks, or not my picks. I guess you could say there's a mix of like people that I feel like deserve to debut and a mix of people that I think will get selected. But let's start with the last episode that aired. I think it was like episode 10, 11. I lost track of how many episodes. And it took me a minute to make this video because when I started watching the episode and through the rest of the episode, I was a little bit upset. I feel like this episode was kind of a waste of our time because it didn't show us anything new. It was just kind of like a recap episode, so you could see all the challenges that were performed and you could look back at all the members. I wish they would have done more of a then and now to show us like where they started at and how much they improved instead of just showcasing the episodes, the challenges we've already seen. And also I was a little bit annoyed at the production because at this point I feel like they're just like playing with the fans, playing with our emotions, but also a little bit like playing with the remaining 10 members. First of all, I suspected that they were gonna do this when the previous week they're like cliffhanger, we're gonna eliminate either Iannis or Alex, and then surprise, nobody was eliminated. Personally, I think it's kind of messed up to go into the concert or showcase where they're going to announce the final 10 members, the final 5 members with 10 people, because you're literally going to like you're going to make 5 of these boys go through the whole process of like filming the music video for their first single, performing, and then you're not in the band, and they already got a taste of what it could have been to be in the final group, you know? They always reiterate that it's 5 members, but I think it's really weird to go into the finale with 10 people. I feel like they should have gone in with like 8, so that way only 3 people get their feelings hurt, like having gone that far instead of 5 people. So at this point, I don't know if it's I don't know if it's really going to be a 5-member group, or if they're gonna say like, surprise, you guys did so well, it was hard for us to choose, so we decided to go with 6, 7 members, whatever. I really don't think it'll be a 10-member group because that would be like so dumb for them to just like, psych, you know? But yeah, those were my feelings when I saw that episode. I was like, are you kidding me? Are you And in that case, I don't think it's Hybe. I think this is the production as far as the judges and like the coaches that are training them, and also how they just want to like string along for the ratings, for the views. Even though it's not aired on like television, they're still like stringing us along for views to see how many of us are going to be tuning in to the channel to get like hits, you know? And also they're still testing the waters to see like what the support is, what the fan support is, like what member is getting more hype than the other, what member has more support. They're measuring the metrics as far as like which videos, which shorts, which TikToks, which social media posts get more engagement, for them to know like, okay, these members are actually really beloved, or these members are not. They're kind of go under the radar. So all to that to say, I found really interesting, I don't know if you guys noticed, the way when they were filming the final, like they were filming the video for the, you know, obviously for the single, what is it called, 0%, how they were doing, obviously, different groupings of 5. There were some members that did solo shots, there were some that they were like couple shots, so it's like a little mix and match. So at the end of the day, when whomever gets cut, it will be easy to just like, oh, we're going to use this take instead because that person is not in this take. We're going to use this take because that person is not in that take. So what I did notice, what I wanted to talk about, And so I promised you guys I would talk about the final 10. My thoughts. Just I want to segue this, that these are my personal opinions and thoughts. Some of you guys might agree with them. Some of you might not, and that's okay. That doesn't mean I'm wrong and you're right. Or that doesn't mean that you're right and that doesn't mean that I'm right and you're wrong. It just means these are my opinions, my perceptions, my thought process. Just sharing it with you guys because I feel like in the past couple of weeks we feel like we've built a pretty cool community. We've been able to interact with each other in the comments. You guys have been able to, like, I've noticed comments like, finally somebody said what I was thinking, or like somebody that I can talk to this about, even though it's just over social media, you know, because you don't have friends that are watching the show with you. Some of you that are coming with knowledge from the K-pop world, knowing how like those competition programs work, or being fans of K-pop artists, so you know what the ethic is for work. And some of you guys coming from like the Latin pop side, where you are aware of what the expectation is for the Latin pop market, you know, what other groups have been beforehand. So what you expect as fans of like a Latin boy group, what the expectation should be. And it's fair, because at the end of the day, like I mentioned, if we're going to be consuming the music, we're going to be consuming the product, we have better like the group, and we have the group better be bringing us good vocals, good performance, good dance. As far as the aspect of like, if you're watching a music video, if you're watching a live performance, when you're just listening to the audio, it should be good vocals that are not being hidden by auto-tune or by like production. You should be able to hear the vocals and know who's singing what, and not try to figure out like, who's this? I can't tell because they distorted their voice so much. But anyways, going back to what I noticed, I don't know if you guys noticed it too, throughout the last episode when they were filming the music video, they paired up for the interviews. They paired up a lot of the members. So it was like 5 pairs of 2. This is what I noticed. They paired up Alejandro with Gabi because they know that we love that duo ever since Lloviendo Estrellas. Both of them have a lot of personality. They're very charismatic. They're very beloved. Obviously, Alejandro, to me, I've said it so many times, he's like an all-rounder. Gabi still has a little bit of a struggle, but he brings it in the performance. And by performance, I mean like he sells you the performance. He sells you the emotion. He like engages you where sometimes you're like, oh my God, you're mesmerized, but you're watching because he's so charismatic that you can't take your eyes away from him. So they paired those 2 together. Then they paired the best vocalist, Kaue, with the worst vocalist, Alex. So that was a choice. Then they paired Kenneth, who's the youngest, with Drew, who's the oldest. So that's like, are you giving me like, in between these pairs, am I supposed to be like, if you cut it in half, this is one group and this is another? That's interesting. Another pair. They paired Iannis and Lucas together. I mentioned it before. To me, and you guys have noticed it, I mix up their names. I mix up their nationalities. Because sometimes when they're together, they blur. One blurs into the other. So it's like, if you're a Lucas fan, of course you're like, Lucas is unmistakable. If you're a Iannis fan, Iannis is unmistakable. But if you're just like a viewer and those are not your top 2, you're like, they blend. Either one could debut and it wouldn't be, they're interchangeable kind of. And then lastly, they paired Pablo and Leo. Similar. To me, that's like, they have like similar vibes as well. With the exception that Pablo has his vocals a little bit more trained. He sells it more, he believes it more, whereas Leo, he's still like struggling a little bit. So we're just gonna go down pair by pair, and I'm gonna talk to you guys about my thoughts for each member. Starting with Alejandro. I feel like most of us, even if Alejandro's you're not your top, I feel like all of us can agree that Alejandro should be debuting. He's shown progress. Obviously, he came in with vocal ability, like a certain standard of vocal ability, but he's been able to grow throughout the show. Not only that, his dancing, he was not a dancer. He's been able to grow with the dancing and adapt and show that he can do the choreographies. An amazing performer. He tells you the emotion of each song. He embodies the rhythm and the style of each song. No matter what outfit they put him in, he owned it. He's like, this is like K-pop. I'm like a K-pop idol. This is like Backstreet Boy style. I'm gonna 90s style, you know. Me Rehuso, he did that style. Crooner with like Lloviendo Estrellas and with Suave. Like every style they gave him, he nailed it. He gives face. He gives you like the feeling, he can act it out in his face. You can believe what the words he's saying because he's acting out in his face. So to me, he's got the whole package. Plus, he's also very charismatic when he's talking in interviews or where he's just even like in the episode. He's very likable. You know, I don't know about you guys, but personally, I felt like when he got his makeover and Jessica was talking to him about, he was like, what she was trying to explain, I don't think she was able to explain. Like the Korean phrase, it's like the son, like your friend's son, she was saying, but it's almost like this is your friend's son that you would bring home with you. Like you want him to be part of your family because he's like such a nice guy. Everybody loves him. He's like beloved by everybody, by all the moms, they love him. And she looked like she had little hearts in her eyes. I swear to you, I was like, is Jessica crushing on Alejandro? That was kind of funny to me. But he's like the whole package in a way that he can do vocals, he can do dance, he can perform, he can fit the styles. He's very moldable, and it's easy for him to interpret every different style, whatever the concept they decide to go with. Which takes me to Gabi. I feel like obviously he came in after they had eliminated like 3 members. He came in, and at first I feel like all of us thought like, who's this kid? Is he like, does he deserve to be here? He didn't go through that whole first initial. But obviously they scouted him for a reason. They scouted him because he has visuals. He's a very good looking kid. Blonde hair, light colored eyes. This like his Puerto Rican, you know, his accent, like the way he talks. It's very like it's very endearing because obviously like everybody else kind of emulates him because of the way he talks. So he has an endearing personality. He's cute, he's good looking, he's look young and fresh. Vocally he is like struggling a little bit, but I feel like when he nails it, he nails it. He just has to be steadier with his vocal control, which I've mentioned it many times. I feel like he doesn't have enough air stored so that when he's singing, like he has enough air to hold the keys, because sometimes he does it perfectly and sometimes he lets the nerves get to him and he's just like, he has this very like breathy way of like singing. So maybe that's what they like about him, that he has like that little bit, like a little bit of like a whisper singing, but he needs to be able to hold the notes longer. With the choreo, you know, he's also like, I feel like he's been keeping up with the choreo with everybody. Obviously everybody's making mistakes because they have to be more regimented with their practice. But the same as with Ale. I feel like he's a great performer. He does a great job of selling you the vibe, getting into the vibe, into the rhythm, and like you're so entranced by what he's doing, the way he's moving, that you're like, oh my god, this guy's adorable. He's so cute. Like I'm vibing with him, you know? His facial expressions and just the way he moves, like his body, you can tell he's feeling the music. At least he's like in the moment and he's feeling the music and he's vibing with like what other member he is with. I feel like they pair him a lot with Alejandro because they just have like this good vibe ever since Lloviendo Estrellas. They vibe off of each other really well. So I feel like that's why they put them together for the interview. But also because they have very similar correct, oh my god, what's the word? Características. So with the exception that I feel like Alejandro is a little bit better than him because he's got the vocal stability. He can hold the notes. He can belt the notes. He has like, he's mastered his airflow. So they're almost like saying like these two are in the same category, but to me Alejandro is like better than Gabi in that aspect. If they're looking at like these are our all-rounders centers, I feel like obviously Alejandro is better than Gabi. Not going to the other one that to me has been a struggle recently, because to tell you guys, when I went into this show, I was like, oh my god, Kenneth's got the vocals, he's got the youthful look, right? But then I'm like, Drew, he's got the looks, and he's like an amazing dancer, and he has a lot of stage presence because he brings that to the table. He has that experience already. But then they paired them together because one's the youngest, one is the oldest. So I'm like, are you making us choose? Obviously, us as viewers, we don't have a choice, but it's really up to what the production, what they're looking for, like what vibe they're going to lean towards when making the group. Is it going to be a more youthful, innocent vibe, or is it going to be a little bit older with the youngest member being 18? And then so that Drew fits into that bracket. Because a lot of people say, like, this is not K-pop, this is Latin music. And it's exactly, that's what I agree. In K-pop, you have a lot of really young guys debuting, like 15, 16, whatever, you know? I think, like, most recent example is Cordis. The members are like 16, 17, the oldest is 20. So they're all on the younger side. So, but that's K-pop. Because K-pop is like, let's debut them young so they can last us like a lot of years. The contracts are 7 years. We debut them young, we have them to their mid-20s. However, Latin America pop music kind of had the same example, but at this point, I don't know, especially with the choices of like music they've been giving them, I don't know where they're leaning towards. So, which is why I'm a little bit concerned between between Kenneth and Drew. Kenneth, like I said, when I first saw him and throughout this whole show, he's shown that like he can hold his own with the vocals. He's been able to like match everybody with the choreography and like the stage performance and everything. He's got that whole aspect, like the performance, vocal, and dance aspect, but he's not necessarily, I wouldn't say he has the charisma where he like, you zero in on him when you're watching them perform. What draws you in as a viewers is that he looks young, is that he's youthful, and you're like, oh my god, he's so cute, and look at his vocals, he can sing. I mentioned in the previous video that I feel like he's starting to strain his vocal cords because he's trying to hit notes that maybe he can't reach anymore because his maturing and his vocal range is changing. So he's not able to hit like the higher pitch vocals because he's not having his kid voice anymore. He's moving into his more like late teens. His vocal cords are maturing. So I feel like at this point, he might injure his vocal cords if he keeps going at this pace. That's my personal opinion, how I feel, what I've seen. Obviously, he has the drive. He wants to debut. Obviously, he started saying like he wanted to be a soloist. But now being with the group, he's like, I feel like I want to be in the group. But he initially wanted to be a soloist. So that's one to think about, you know. Would he be okay if not being in the group? Obviously, he said recently like he has to be in Santos Bravos because they're like his brothers. That he found this brotherhood of people that he can get along with. But if you've seen the recent clips, he's literally like the little brother that everybody just like pampers. Even though he just had his birthday, they still treat him like a kid. Whereas everybody else, they're like more mature. So that's one thing that I'm like, I get that you're using the K-pop concept, but at what point is it being the matinee? To what point is it cute, you know? Because if you're making them sing more sexy and sensual songs, you can't have it both. You can't be like, oh, look at this cute little boy, but I'm gonna have you sing about romance and about breakups and about like going far in their relationship. I'm gonna have you sing about like, I'm not gonna say like sexually explicit lyrics, but lyrics that give you that innuendo, if you guys get what I mean. So that's my reservation with Kenneth. On the other hand, you have Drew, who has improved so much with his vocals. They finally found his vocal range that he can sing. Obviously, he just needs a little bit more training to maintain the vocal control, like maintain the keys. Obviously, as a dancer, he's amazing because he's had experience performing dance. He's able to sell you the choreography, sell you the performance He knows how to vibe with the group. He knows how to lead the group, like when it comes to dance. Because if you guys remember when they were reviewing the choreo for Suave, which it was supposed to be easier, they weren't, everybody wasn't doing it to the same standard. And he was like, you guys, she's been telling us all this time you're not doing it right, and I'm not here to keep telling you how to do it. We all know how to do it, so why aren't you doing it? Right? There's a point when you need that somebody like that dance leader to tell you, okay, stop goofing around and get serious, because you need to nail the choreography, whether it's intricate or whether it's simple. But the simpler it is, the more noticeable the mistakes are. So I feel like he has that ability to come in and get serious with them and tell them, like, stop messing around, take this seriously, nail the choreo, nail the dancing. But he has, if you notice in the performances, when you look at him, you're like, oh my gosh, he's like selling me the whole, like he's feeling the music in his body, which makes his movements look more relaxed and even though they're still precise, they look very relaxed. All his movements connect with each other. They don't look robotic. The only hesitancy I have with Drew is that he's 25. Again, what concept do they want to go with? Is Hybe Latinamerica going to go with like a very youthful concept, or are they going to stick with they've been doing so far with it's just like a little bit more mature songs than he would fit? Because even though he's 25, he still looks very youthful, especially with the makeover, and he has this very like sweet looking face that he looks, to me, if you put him side by side with like Leonardo and Alex, Drew looks younger if you put them side by side. So that's one thing, that Drew still gives you that youthfulness, and then you're like, oh, he's 25. We have to take in, like, not think so much about like how old is he, but visually, what is he giving us? If you put Drew and Kenneth side by side, or Kenneth next to any other member, he looks young, whereas Drew looks youthful. There's a difference between looking young and looking youthful, but still looking mature. So depending what direction Hybe goes, I feel like even though Drew is 25, he can still, let's say like the group is around for 5 years, he can still look youthful when he's into his 30s. And as opposed to what, obviously I don't remember what ages like CNCO were when they finished, when they like stopped performing together and just all left the group. But like if we're gonna refer to back groups like Menudo, like the OG boy group, that was a little problematic because they were like teenagers. They were like, I think 15 to 18. And if you look at Menudo's history, you never have, yes, even though the group was around for a couple of years, it was never the same lineup. Every couple of years, they would bring in new members, because the rule was once you became of age, they kicked you out. So, because they wanted to sell like this young, prepubescent teens, once you turned 18, you got kicked out of the group, and it's like, but they still had a good career. So that was a little problematic, because we all know the issues that were happening behind the scenes with the boys. So in those aspects, I feel like having a group that's not necessarily young in age but looks youthful, that could be in their 18 to mid-20s, would work for the company, because we won't have these issues of abuse and like over-sexualization of younger members. At least they'll be in their 20s and people won't be creepy towards them, and they'll be able to perform like more mature songs. And by that I don't mean like sexually explicit, I mean like more romantic songs that is kind of like what the demographic is going to want, and they can perform more ballads and showcase their vocals, because that's what we're used to from Latin singers. We're used to him having good vocals. So those are my thoughts on Kenneth and Drew, and why I'm like confused is which. I would love both of them. Both of them are amazing. Both of them I feel like deserve a spot, but I just don't know which one they're gonna go with. So that's another one where I'm like, why did you pair them together for the interviews? Are you telling me something, Hybe, that one of these is not gonna make it? I don't know. Then we have Alex and Kaue. I don't know about you guys, but I was a little bit pissed. I feel like this specific footage was a little bit staged and maybe practiced, because and I was a little insulted at the same time. Like, as a viewer, I'm like a little bit insulted, and I would be, if I was a contestant, I would be insulted as well. When Alex was talking to Kaue, they were talking in their bedroom. They were talking in the bed. And Alex was asking Kaue for help. He's like, I know my vocals aren't there, but I'm gonna lean on you. I'm gonna ask you to help me. And Kaue told him, like, hey, I'm gonna help you the same way that you helped me. You helped me with the dancing, so I'm gonna help you. But Alex literally said, now that I know that I'm in the top 10, that I'm going into the concert, I want you to help me to work on my vocals. I was like, why weren't you working on your vocals this whole other time? What were you doing? Were you just like, if I'm in, I'm in. If I'm in, then I'll make the effort. If not, I'm not going to make the effort. That's insulting to me as a viewer, and I would have been insulted as Kaue. Like, if I was Kaue or any other members, to hear like, oh, now you're going to take it seriously and now you're going to work on your vocals. Because now you know that you're like in the last stretch, and if you improve, you can make it in. Whereas this whole other time, you were just like relying on your dance skills and your good looks. So to me, I was like, wow. I was not happy when I saw that. I was like, wow. And on top of that, I think it's unfair to have the main vocalist who has been doing the work to improve in his dancing and still maintain like his vocal ability. Now he has to take on the extra job of teaching this other guy who hasn't been taking it seriously this whole time. He hasn't been working on his vocals. He's just like, I'm good at dancing and that's all I need. Whereas Kaue was like, I know I'm not good at dancing, but let me work on it and improve and just maintain my amazing vocals that I have. But now I have to teach you too. I have to take time out of my own time to coach you. But also, I'm younger than you, and I'm having to coach you who has already been in a group before. Like, you should know what the standard is. So that whole situation that just came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden they're like so close, and Kaue's helping Alex. I don't know where that came from. Obviously, I've mentioned it before. Kaue has an amazing vocal range. He can do lower register, upper register. He can travel between his mid-range to upper range. He can hit those high notes. I feel like more recently they started to give him arrangements where it's not so obvious, like hit a high note even if it doesn't go here. You know, it's a little bit less obvious that they're showcasing those vocals. He's been nailing the choreography as well. They placed him in the middle positions in some of the performances. And even if he's out on the outsides, he still, when it's his turn to do vocals, he does vocals. Like, you never forget that he's there. You know, if it's a Kaue performance, you know, if he's in a group, you're like, okay, at least he's going to serve at least. Then we have Alex over here, like I mentioned. He's a dancer. Supposedly he came in with like dance experience. Personally, when I look at his dance, it's, yes, he hits all the steps, he hits all the choreo, but he doesn't connect the moves. So they look all very robotic. You could tell like this post, this post, this post, blah. And then to wow, they're like, do a backflip. Do like backflip to the splits. Jump over another member, because that's supposed to wow you. But it's like, we're looking for a boy group. We're not looking for a b-boy dance crew. So I don't know where that fits in. They can't fit that in every song. And in the songs where it's been like slower choreo, where it's just synchronization, he's not connecting the movements, and he's just focused on himself instead of like working with the group so they all look like a cohesive unit. And obviously his vocals are not there. He has not bothered. His vocals sound the same from when the show started to now. And from what I remember, they said it's been like 5 months. In 5 months, his vocals haven't improved at all. That's concerning. If you're scouting for a boy group, they're going to be singing. He should be able to hold a note. You shouldn't be able to hear his being off key or his being flat when other members are harmonizing. He shouldn't stand out as the one that's like off key and flat. Like, if you're trying to hide his vocals, it's not working. It is not working. The only time, actually, no. I don't know if I'm gonna react to this one, but I forget what challenges was when they had him sing with auto-tune. Not even that helped. Not even that helped. He sounded off key in auto-tune. So I feel like it highlighted it even more that he's off key. So that's the, I feel like, yes, I know there are a lot of Alex fans. They're like, give him a chance, but it's been 5 months and he hasn't improved in his vocals at all. If you want to be a backup dancer, then be a backup dancer and then just audition for when they need backup dancers for their tour and let the actual singers sing, and then you just audition to perform with them instead of being a part of the group. So those are my thoughts on Alex and Kaue. Like, obviously from that pairing, Kaue, hello. Moving on to Iannis and Lucas. Iannis, when they first were showing the lineup, I was like, oh my god, that boy, he's got the visuals. He's very handsome. I love his smile. He's got the look. And obviously, as the performances went on, I'm like, okay, he has like a very unique tone of voice. He has like a very like colorful voice. Like it's like velvet. It sounds very velvety when he sings. It's like this mix of like breathiness with like a little bit of like power behind them. So they're very pleasing to the ears. The thing he is struggling with is keeping in step with everybody else with the choreo. Sometimes he's like off by a second. He's like either fast or he's behind or he misses a move that he doesn't like the moves. So that's his issue right now. And also what I kind of noticed in like the Backstreet Boys episode, when it finished, I personally felt the way he was talking, I felt like he was very sure of himself, like very cocky. Like, they're not gonna cut anybody, they're not gonna send anybody home. They're gonna pass us all 10. Yes, that's what happened, but he didn't know that. He came off as a little bit arrogant. Like, I got my spot secure. Like, we don't have to worry about it. You know, I don't have to worry about it because I'm like set. And I feel like because of that, it's not that he purposely stopped trying, but he just like got a little too relaxed and he didn't try as hard as he could have to nail the synchronization with his other members. Because vocally he can do it. As obviously he still struggles with like staying on key when he's like doing specific notes or note changes. But when I'm talking about like the performance, when you're performing with your group, you need to look synchronized with everybody else. You shouldn't be able to stand out because you did something wrong. That's my issue with Iannis. Now, on the other hand, Lucas, and the reason I say they're interchangeable, I feel like they're par on par. Lucas also has good vocals. They're not as powerful. I feel like they're a little bit weaker than Iannis's vocals, because he's not consistent with his vocals within each performance. In some, he loses the air faster, or he's trying to hit the keys and they come off strained and they go off pitch. Like, he could not nail that high note when he did the Suave performance. He shouldn't have even tried, because I was like, oh, my God. That sounded bad. So he's not giving me consistency with vocals, whereas Iannis is a little bit more consistent. Performance-wise, this is where I feel like they're the opposite ends. Performance-wise, and I think like choreo-wise, he's able to keep up with other members. But to me personally, Lucas is forgettable. Like, I forget Lucas. If it's not when he's being spotlit, then it's like it's his turn and I know I have to listen to him because he's the only one singing. I forget that he's there. And sometimes that happens with Iannis too. Like, they kind of like fade into the background. They don't stand out to me as much as other members do, because the other members are performing more. Like, I feel like once it's like, it's not my turn to sing, I'm just like doing the performance or backup vocals, they fade into the background, and that's not good. You should still have some stage presence where you remember that the member is there and you're like, oh my God, I'm listening to this member, but look at what this guy is doing. You know, just like I could be listening to Alejandro sing and I'm like, what is Gabi doing over here? Oh my God, he's so funny. You should still have some stage presence. And I feel like both Iannis and Lucas, when it's not their turn to sing, they blend into the background. And that's, to me, that makes them forgettable. Like, I should remember that you're part of the group, regardless of whether you're singing or if you're doing like a specific dance step. I shouldn't forget that you're part of the group. Which brings me to Pablo and Leo. Pablo, I hadn't noticed it, and going back to like previous performances, Pablo does have very strong vocals. He has a very specific style. I feel like he's the one that has the stronger vocals as far as not necessarily range, like Kaue, but his vocals come out more clear. He doesn't have like a breathiness with his vocals. They're very like crisp and clear, and they just like cut through. So whatever lines, if he reviews whatever lines they assign him, they're gonna be like the lines that are like clear, crisp, clear. They cut through the song. They cut through the music, through the melody. Like, they're unmistakable. So he has good vocal control as far as like how much power he emits, and he's very consistent with that in every song that he's done. Sometimes he does struggle when he's trying to like stay in style. He goes off a little bit, being like a little bit too aggressive, or too like, he needs to pull back the power in some of those cases. But other than that, vocally he's doing well. As far as the dance, he still has issues with keeping the synchronization with some of the members, matching everybody matching together, like staying, like I mentioned, if it's a straight line, you got a straight line, and everybody's feet are going down, everybody's feet are going down, and everybody's looking here, everybody's looking here, you know? Staying in sync with them, that's something he still struggles with the dancing. But again, it's easier to learn dance than it is to learn vocals. So I feel like in that case, he's got a little bit of an edge. So if we're looking at just like vocalist, he's like top 3. Leo, on the other hand, I feel like he's a little bit like Iannis, Lucas, and yeah, those 3, to me, they all blend together. Leo, when he performs, he does stand out a little bit, but not as much as Iannis does, to me. And Leo does have, I couldn't pinpoint what it was about him until the coaches mentioned it, and then it clicked for me. I'm like, that's it. And I've mentioned it before, when he tries to hit notes, him and Lucas do this. They try to hit notes using their throat. Like, they try to push it from here, from the throat, instead of pushing from their diaphragm and letting the air just flow. They try to control the way the vocal sound comes out instead of it letting it flow naturally. So that's when it sounds strained. It doesn't sound authentic. It sounds like, I can tell you're forcing the notes. I can tell you're forcing the bravados. I can tell you're like struggling to get that note out, because it's you can visibly see it in your body that you're trying so hard, and it shouldn't look hard. It shouldn't look like you're struggling. You should be like, oh my God, he just hit that note and it was amazing. It was like nothing to him. Kind of like Kaue and Pablo and Alejandro can do. And then on top of that, Leo, you can see it in his eyes. He doesn't trust himself if he's doing enough, or he doesn't trust himself to know when to stop. So he's like trying to sell you the vibe and the feeling, but he's not buying it himself. So since he's like, am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? You can see the thoughts in his face. When he's performing, you could tell, and now look at the camera, and now look like sexy, and now look like you're doing this. He's like, you can hear his thoughts. You can read his thought in his face. And that's why the coaches said like, that he still doesn't believe it. He still doesn't believe he's got it. If you don't believe you've got it, how are you going to make others believe that you have it? You have what it takes. So that's how I see like where they're at specifically going into this concert. Obviously, they said that they had 1 month. So from when the episode aired on Thursday to now we're gonna see the debut in 4 days on Tuesday. To us, it's 4 days. To them, it's gonna be a month. So maybe in that month, since they're not gonna be doing challenges and they're not gonna be filmed, be able to focus more on their performances, on their vocals, on their synchronicity. So maybe some of the members will actually like fix their issues, and once we see them in the concert and the live show, we'll be like, oh my god, they're actually amazing. They're actually doing really well. They actually do deserve to perform. But if I'm going off of what I've seen up to that episode, there are some people that are very clearly deserve to debut, and some people that are like, why are you still here? Like, they should have sent you home 3 episodes ago. Like, why? They're literally just leaving you here for rage bait at this point. For clicks. For people to watch and be like, why are you here? And it takes me back to the part of the episode where they... Obviously, they went to this little hike, commune in nature, do a writing exercise that personally I thought it was... Like, once they started singing, I was like, oh my god, I got emotional. I'm like, this is such a good song. Like, such a sincere song, you know, where they're talking to the inner child, like their inner children. Like, what message would you give? But I found it interesting that most of them, they were like, oh, I'm used to writing for myself. I'm not used to writing in a group. Everybody's writing down things, and Alex is doing nothing. Like, the boy hasn't ever... He's just been a dancer this whole time. From whatever previous experience, obviously it's clear he's only focused on dancing, because he didn't offer up any sentences, any like lyrics. Obviously we didn't see everybody's lyrics being offered up, because we didn't see Alejandro offer up lyrics, but we at least see everybody writing stuff down. And he was literally like, I don't have thought. Like, I don't know what to write. Like, you should at least be able to like have a thought process and be able to write something. And then it could be, you're throwing out ideas and like, what about this sentence? What about this sentence? And then that's like, you fuse them together and that's how you write a song. So that was one thing that I was like, so you're not creative either. Because that tells me that you're not creative in your dance either. You're good at following steps, following somebody else's choreo, but can you do your own? Like, do you have any creativity? Because the thing that I love personally about Hybe artists and the different levels within Hybe, whether it be Big Hit, Source Music, Cause, what other ones are there? Pledis, you know? They let their artists have a hand in making of their songs. You know, at one point or another, you're gonna see the artist that it's like they have writing credits, or they have producing credits, or they have both. So at certain points, like some artists, like I mentioned, Cordis, they just debuted and they already have like most of them, all of them have writing credits, which means they've written lyrics for their songs. A couple of them have writing and producing credits, which means they've created beats. You know, if you're looking at also Cordis, James, he's one of the members. He's already created choreographies for other Hybe artists, and he's like a dancer. So he's already involved in a lot of the process and like the creativity of the art and like being able to decide what kind of sound they're gonna have. Le Seraphim, Yunjin has writing credits already from in some of the songs. She's written her own song. TXT, Yeonjun, Bumgyu, Hyun and Kai, Taehyun all have writing credits by now. Some have even producer credits. Like Bumgyu recently just self-produced his own song. Obviously, BTS, we know that all of them, especially the rap line, they have writing and producing credits. So what I do like that Hybe does is they let their artists be creative. They let them write the music. They let them have input in what songs they want to perform, in creating songs. So they're not just puppets. So like, this is what you're gonna do. So I felt like this little writing camp was a little like peak of, you guys could actually have a hand in making your own music in the future. Like if you come with us and say like, hey, I have an idea of this song, I was thinking of these lyrics, we could potentially be seeing them with writing credits within 1 or 2 years, you know, especially because we know some of them already have done have taken a chance at like writing their own music and like performing their own music. They know how to play guitar, so they know how to do that. So to me, that's really important as well. Like, do you care enough to try to be involved in that process, or do you just want to be a product told what to do, how to act, when to talk, when to sing, when to dance? Personally, I would want my artists to have a little bit more autonomy and a little bit more say-so in the type of music they're going to produce, so they're not getting taken advantage of. So those are my thoughts in the different members, their pairings, where they're at, how I think, why they were paired that way in that episode and the whole writing camp. Now, my big reveal, my top 5. Obviously, my number 1 pick is already, if you guys know, is Alejandro. Number 2 is Kaue. Like, those two are indisputable. Like I said, I would love for both Kenneth and Drew to debut. I don't think it's gonna happen because that's a big age gap. And I feel like Kenneth would really skew this style unless they are gonna have him perform music that's not age appropriate for him. So even though I would love for him to debut, he's not in my top 5. Top 5 for me is like Alejandro, all-rounder, Kaue, main vocals, or at least supporting vocals. I feel like main dancer would be Drew, because his vocals are improving, so he could hold his own with the vocals, but he was also going to be an amazing asset in the dance portion of it, as being able to like lead and help his other members with learning their choreos and helping them like showcase them. So those 3. Then I think Pablo would make it because he has a good stage presence. He has good vocal control. It's a different color than what Alejandro and Kaue and Kenneth have. So that would create like a good, unified, cohesive sound where their vocals are not that different from each other. So that's Ale, Kaue, Drew, and Kenneth, right? Because I'm thinking dancer, and I'm thinking vocalist, and I'm thinking all-rounder. Now for the 5th member, this one, to me, it's going to be between Gabi and Iannis. Main reason is Iannis, I love his vocal color. I feel like he would fit in great with like that group of people that are already really good at their vocals. His vocal color would add some uniqueness to it. It would kind of like play well, offset Kaue's vocal color. He's got like, he's very charismatic, you know, when he's talking, when you're like looking directly at him. The negative side, why I'm not sure if he'll make it, is his stage presence, that he gets lost. He blends into the background. The spotlight's not on him, he just blends. So in that case, I feel like Gabi has a stronger chance of debuting, simply because they literally scouted him for his charisma, because of his personality, because he's got the looks. He looks young, because he has personality. Like, he draws your eyes, he draws the attention, because he's in the moment, he's feeling the music, he's feeling the performance. The vocals, they can improve, because he has had times when he gives us amazing vocals, and by amazing I don't mean like high notes and low register, but he performs the vocals well, he's not going off key, and he's holding the notes, right? But then obviously there are times when he gets a little too overexcited and he starts like losing his air control. So in that aspect, I feel like he needs to work more on that and just like be serious. But he ticks every other box off as far as like the dance. He's keeping up with the dance. He's got the visuals. He's got charisma. He's got personality. He can perform. So I don't know if we've ever had like a pairing with those 5, because it's always been like a mix. So I don't remember if they've ever paired those 5 specific members in just one performance. Because I know they try to like, when they split in between 5 and 5, they do like, we got to have a vocal in this one and a vocalist in this one. We have a hand dancer here and a dancer here. So because of those things, and I've always said it, it could be like my definite top 3 are definitely that I feel like my top 3 are definite: Alejandro, Kaue, Pablo. And then I feel like Drew should be debuting because he's the main dancer. He should be debuting over Kenneth. And then I feel like Gabi might end up debuting over Iannis. If Iannis doesn't get that whole, like, they both have some stuff to work on, so it depends on who gets better control of it. Might be the one they debuts. That's if even my lineup is the same lineup that Hybe Latinamerica is thinking of, because they could be thinking completely different thing, and my lineup might be blah, you know. But definitely, if Alejandro and Kaue don't debut, then there's something really wrong. Like, if Alex debuts, to me, the group will have lost, like, any reputable. I feel like it will be a joke. The group will be a joke if Alex debuts. Unless he, for somehow, some miracle, he comes during the concert. He has amazing vocals. That would be the only way that I'd be okay with him debuting. But if his vocals are the same and he debuts, that group is going to be the laughing stock of everybody in the industry. Because, like I've mentioned, coming as a group that's being formed by Hybe, the expectations are high. Everybody's eyes are on them. Everybody's already comparing them to K-pop. They're being compared to other boy groups, and they're already saying they're not good enough. They're saying that about them just looking at their videos from these performances where they're off key. Obviously not taking into account that it's training. Why? Because haters already want to hate, right? We're already getting people hating on them, even though we know that some are really good at what they're doing, but some are terrible, like Alex. So if they decide to debut people that are not ready, it'll just be proof to all the haters that, like, see, this is the very first Hybe flop. This group is gonna flop. They're gonna suck. They don't have what it takes. They don't have the vocals. They don't have the visuals. They don't have, like, the dance. So I really hope that big picture, the Hybe producers have final say, and they don't just go off of what the coaches think. Like, I feel like somebody that has not been as involved with them with their training, somebody from the outside is able to come in and say, like, you, and not be guided so much by their feelings. Whereas be guided more in, like, where are we going to be in a year from now? Are they going to be able to hold their own when they do their first live performance? Or are they going to fail? So those are my thoughts on the final top 10. Those were my picks for final 5. Ale, Kaue, Pablo, Drew, and Gabi or Iannis. Like, the 5th one I'm still undecided. It could be Gabi or Iannis for me. But obviously, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you guys think? Please keep it respectful in the comments. Like I mentioned, this is my opinion. These are my thoughts. This is my perception. So if it's an opinion, you can't be wrong. Now, if I've missed some things that other people have noticed that I haven't noticed, I'm more than welcome to hear about them in the comments. I love that we're able to have, like, a back and forth discussion respectfully and not, like, getting into arguments with each other. I love that about this community that we've built here together. So I'm really appreciative of you all that have kept coming back, listening to me talk about these performances and just, like, relate, and also be able to say, like, oh, actually in this part you were wrong, because that has made me go back and relook at it and be like, okay, you know what, I actually did miss that. But again, when you're doing a live reaction, you can only catch so many things. So I appreciate everybody's feedback, all your comments. I'm still trying to decide what I'm gonna do on Tuesday as far as, like, the final lineup, because I don't know how long the broadcast is gonna last. So I don't know if I want to do a live stream and just watch the finalists live with whoever wants to join me, or if I'm going to just record my reactions and post them later. So I'm thinking about that still. I'll let you know, guys. I'll let you guys know what I decide. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I'll see you in a few days once we find out who the final lineup is.